registers, general purpose registers from R0 to R12, where R0 to R7 are the low resistors, then R8 to R12 are the high resistors, and then the special resistors, control resistors, we have seen in the last lecture. So that was all about resistors. Now in the today's lecture, in this section, we are going to see some exceptions, interrupts, then we are also going to see block diagram of this ARM Cortex M3. We are going to see few more points regarding the working and functioning of the Cortex M3. So we are moving really into the depth now. We are going into this in this Cortex M3 little bit of depth, because now we have been also seeing the interrupt handling and exception and all those things into the picture. So now we are really going into the mid of this unit. So let us start with interrupt and exceptions. So the interrupts and exceptions are the mostly it is included in a fixed number of systems, where exceptions and number of interrupts commonly called as IRQ, that is an interrupt request. The number of interrupt inputs on the Cortex M3 microcontroller depends on the individual design. Interrupts generated by the peripherals, except system tick timer, and also connected to the interrupt input signal. The typical number of interrupt input is 16 or 32. However, you might find some microcontroller design with more number of interrupt inputs. Besides this interrupts input, there is also non-maskable interrupts. So main interrupt is there. Besides that, you will be also having a non-maskable interrupts that is given by NMI input signals. The actual use of NMI actually depends on the design of microcontroller or the system on chip product you use. So basically, there is typical number of interrupt inputs are there 16 or 32. There is also a non-maskable interrupts called as NMI, and the use of NMI mainly depends upon the design of microcontroller or system on chip product that you use. Then in most cases, the NMI could be also connected to a watchdog timer. Watchdog timer is used to keep and watch on every process, or the voltage monitoring block that actually warns when the voltage level goes down to a particular certain level. The NMI exceptions can be activated at any time, even right after the core exit reset. So it can be activated even if you put after the reset button also, you can activate NMI. That is the non-maskable interrupts. The list of exceptions found in the Cortex M3 is given in the next slide, or we will be having the list. A number of system exceptions are fault finding exceptions that can be triggered by various error conditions. So as soon as the error condition occurs, you can trigger the fault finding exceptions. The NVIC also provides a number of fault status registers so that error handlers can be determine the cause of exceptions. So normally if there is an even there is an fault, so particularly that fault status register gets an activated, and due to which the error handling can be easily tackled. That's what the thing is about. Now you can see the exception here, the exception type, the exception number, and the function. So there is no zero exception number here, only it starts from 1 and it goes to 255. So one is the reset, then second is the non-maskable interrupts, third one is an hard fault. This is a class of a fault when the corresponding fault handler cannot be activated because it is currently disabled or masked by the exception masking. Then fourth one is an memory manage, that is a memory management fault. It is caused by MPU violation. MPU, you know, that's a memory protection unit violation or invalid cases such as instruction fetch from non-executable region. Then fifth one is a bus fault. So this is all about exceptions. This is all about faults. The error response received from the bus system caused by the instruction prefetch, abort, or data access error. Then the sixth one is a usage fault. These all exceptions are why this, what is the difference between exceptions and interrupt here is that interrupt is to give an interrupt in between as per your requirement, and exceptions are actually the fault related things, because if there is a fault, then it becomes as exception. If it suddenly there is a fault in between the whole program that is going on, so it becomes an exception. So these all faults comes under the exceptions. So usage fault typically causes are invalid instructions or invalid state transition attempts. Then 7 to 10 is reserved. 11th one is SVC, that is a supervisor call or via SVC instruction. Then 12th one is a debug monitor, that is a suitable debug monitor. Then the 13 is reserved. 14 is pend SV, that is pendable request of the system service. Then system tick timer. And from 16 to 25, it is commonly like interrupt and this exceptions together are called as IRQ, which is nothing but interrupt request. It is basically from 0 to 39, but now from here it will be from 16 to 55. These are the vector table definitions that is allotted after the reset option. So the IRQ is from 2 to 239, IRQ 1, 0, it is having those address offsets. Then 03C is a system stick, 038 is a pend SV, 034 reserved, then 0 into 30 debug monitor, 0 into 2C SVC, 0 into 1C 28, that's reserved. And from 18 to 00, we'll be having usage fault, bus fault, memory management fault, hard fault, NMI, reset, and the starting value of MSP, that is at 0. So this is the vector table definitions that is been used after reset. Then sleep mode and low power feature. This is one of the most important feature of Cortex M3, that because of the sleep mode it does have, so low power consumption is there. So this low power feature is very much useful as it when it goes into the sleep mode. So let us see that what actually is the sleep mode and how it does carry it out. Cortex M3 has a sleep mode, that is it places a core into its power mode when it's halt execution of instruction with Cortex CPU. So normally when it is running, it is in the power mode. After putting a halt execution, we can put it into the CPU mode, into the sleep mode. A small part of CPU is kept awake so that peripheral interrupts can wake up Cortex core. So only peripheral interrupt is been, this part is only activated, whereas rest of the all part goes into the sleep mode. And why that is kept? Because in order to give interrupt so that it can wake up, otherwise it will be continuously in the sleep mode. See why we are putting into the sleep mode, because Cortex M3 when it goes in sleep mode, there is a less power consumption, and because of this less power consumption you can have a long battery life, you can having a long life. Now a small part of the CPU is kept awake so that peripheral interrupt can wake up the Cortex core, otherwise it will be continuously in a sleeping mode. Now there are two instructions that depends on this sleeping mode. One is your instruction WFI, that is wait for the interrupt, and second is WFE, that is wait for the event. Now these are executed to place the core into sleeping mode. So these two are used in order to put the Cortex M3 into sleep mode. Now why maximum sleep mode is there? Because it will have a long battery life as well as the power consumption will be less. So this feature is always added in order to have a low power feature. Now what does WFI means and what does WFE means? Both the instructions are used or executed in order to keep the core in a sleeping mode. The first one is a WFI. Core will resume execution and serve pending instructions. It allows low power application to be completely interrupt driven. So the core wake up the run code and re-enter into the sleep mode. Just a moment. See, core will resume execution. It will resume execution. See, once it's in a sleep mode, then the interrupt is given. It resumes the execution mode and serve the pending instructions. It allows the low power application to come completely interrupt driven so that core wake up, run the code and re-enter the sleep mode. So it can, by interrupt, first of all, it is running into the program mode. It is in the full running mode. And when an interrupt is sent, it goes into the sleep mode. And then again, it wake up, the core wake up and run the code and re-enters again into a sleep mode. So in this way, it keeps on running and entering into the sleep mode. And why this sleep mode is there? Because it will have a low power feature. Now WFE, it allows the Cortex core to resume execution from point where it has placed into the sleep mode. So as soon as it goes into the sleep mode, from that point, if we have an WFE, at that time it starts into it resumes the execution point. So after sleeping, the first one is your WFI. So it will completely re-enter into the sleep mode after resuming, and after the sleep mode it goes into the run mode, and after run mode it again placed into the sleep mode. So in this way WFI and WFE are called as the micros, and every Cortex M processor will have at least 3 mode. This is also by far very important feature of the Cortex M3. The first one is the power mode, where it runs. Then second is the sleep mode, and the third one is a deep sleep mode. So because of this sleep and deep sleep mode, it consumes very less power. So this low power feature is very important. Now let us see how these 3 mode works out to be. The first one is a run mode, when the processor is completely fully powered up and doing everything that embedded system want to do. Yes, it is designed for. So this run mode is completely fully powered. Second is a sleep mode. In this case, sleep mode, it will halt the CPU clock, but it will leave the system clock, flash, and peripheral clock operational. So only CPU clock will be halted. Otherwise, rest of the clocks will be operational. And the third one is a deep sleep mode. In case of deep sleep mode, it will not only halt the CPU clock, but it will also turn off the system clock, flash, and the phase lock loop also. So this is the 3 mode. So here 5 things are to be understood. These are most important 5 things. The first one is WFI. This core will resume execution and serve pending instructions. It allows low power applications to be completely interrupt driven, so that core wake up, run the code, and re-enter into the sleep mode. And second is WFE. That is a it allows the Cortex to resume execution from the point it was placed into the sleep mode. This WFI and WFE are called as micros, and they are called as the wait for interrupts and wait for the event. So every Cortex M processor is having these 2 micros, that is WFI and WFE. And beyond this, it also has 3 power mode. The first one is a run mode, second is a sleep mode, and the third one is a deep sleep mode. In case of run mode, the processor is fully powered up and do everything that embedded system was designed to do. In sleep mode, the CPU clock will be halted, whereas the rest of the clock, like clock, flash, and peripheral clocks are operational. And in case of deep sleep mode, uh, not only CPU clock, but the system clock, flash, and PLL, everything is halted. So these are the 3 modes that really Cortex M3 is having this feature, and because of this, it is having a low power feature. Hence, as the ability to fully customize the low power modules to offer varying degree of low power, there is additional low power capability called as low power mode feature, called as sleep on exit. So this is also a very nice feature that is called as a low power mode feature, and sleep on exit. So when you exit the program, it will go into the sleep mode. So that it is a power saving mode. This is also called as power saving mode. Sleep on exit allows the processor to immediately go back to sleep once the interrupt that was execution completes. This allows to save the time. So it not only saves the time, but it also consumes less power. So this feature is called as a low power feature of Cortex M3 microcontroller. Now this is the block diagram. So you can see that there is an interrupt called as an NVIC interrupt controller. Then you have a processor core system, under which you have instruction fetch unit, decoder, register bank, ALU, trace interface, which is with the debug system, memory interface, which is interrelated with the debug system, that is a trace. Then instruction bus, memory protection unit, that is called as MPU. Then there is a data bus, instruction bus, data bus. These are 2 important buses. Then bus interconnect is there. Then you have debug interface, then code memory, memory system and peripherals, private peripherals, and some of the optional peripherals are also there. So this is the block diagram of Cortex M3. Now let us understand how this block diagram does tend to be. The Cortex M3 is a 32-bit actually microprocessor. It has a 32-bit data path, 32-bit register bank, 32-bit memory interfaces. Then the Cortex M3 offers many new features, including thumb to instruction set. We have already seen this. A very low power consumption. We have already seen this. Interrupt latency, etc. So low interrupt latency, we'll see in later on. What does it mean actually? Then this LPC 1768 is a microcontroller that is belongs to the Cortex M3 core. So I've already said that this Cortex M3 is nothing but LPC 1768 ARM processor. And this processor consists of Harvard architecture. So this you have already seen that, which means that there is a separate instruction bus and data bus in case of Harvard architecture. This allows the instruction and data access takes place at the same time. So instruction as well as data access takes place at the same time, which results in higher performance. However, instruction and data buses share the same memory for complex applications where more memory is the primary need. So whenever there is a more memory is required, at that time instruction and data bus share the same memory. Then Cortex M3 is on-chip peripheral components include Ethernet. It have an Ethernet MAC, USB interface that can be configured as either host, device or OTG, 8-channel general purpose DMA controller, 10-bit DAC, 4-bit UART, 2 CAN channels, 2 SSP controllers, SPI interface, then 3 I2C interface, 2 input plus 2 output I2C interface, 8-channel 12-bit ADC, then motor control pulse width modulation, quadrature encoder interface, 4 general purpose timers, 6 output general purpose PWM, ultra low power RTC with separate battery supply, and up to 17 general purposes input output pins. So these are the all features from the block diagram of Cortex M3. It supports the operating systems like Windows, Linux, Palm operating systems, and so on. Now operating modes. It does have an operating modes. Normally there are 2 operating modes. 2 modes are there and 2 privilege levels are there. It is having 2 modes and 2 privilege levels. Now the operation modes are actually thread and handler mode. Now thread mode means your main program is running, and handler mode means when your main program is not running. So there are 2 modes which we have seen here, is a thread mode and handler mode. The operating modes actually determines whether processor is running a normal program or running an exception handler like interrupt handler or system exception handler. So thread means your normal program that has been running, and handler mode means whether it is handling the interrupt handler, exception handler, or system exception handler. So these are the 2 differences, 2 modes in which there. Then there are 2 privilege levels. One is the privilege levels, and the user level provide a mechanism for safeguarding memory access to critical regions as well as providing basic security model. Now here there are 2 levels, 2 privilege levels. One is your privilege level and the other one is a user level. Now why these 2 levels are there? Because if user level, at user level there are some of the programs which you can run, but in privilege level you need that privilege because that cannot be opened, otherwise the security will be, there will be security issues. Henceforth there is user level as well as privilege level. 2 kind of privilege levels are there, in which depending upon what kind of security to be provided, it can access in privilege level or user level. Now in case of user level, it can get an opportunity to work as a privilege level, but that to have a limitations. It is like that. When the processor is running a main program, that is the thread mode, it is been either in a privileged state or the user state. But except handlers can only be, but expect handlers can only be in a privileged state. So obviously when you're handling that except handler, it will go into the privileged state. So from user state to privileged state, there are 2 state exits. When the processor exits reset, it is a thread mode with a privilege access right. Okay, when it goes into the reset, what happens? The thread mode means which mode? The program mode. That will have the access of the privilege mode. That will have the access of a privilege mode. So these are very important operation modes. Again, I'll revise it. It has 2 modes and two privilege levels. 2 modes, one is a thread mode, second one is a handler mode. The thread mode means you're running of a normal program, and the handler mode means running exception handler like interrupt handler और सिस्टम एक्सेप्शंस, ठीक है। उसके बाद प्रिविलेज लेवल्स. सो देयर आर टू टाइप्स ऑफ प्रिविलेज लेवल. One is a actually privilege level and the second one is the user level. Now privilege level and user level provides a mechanism for the security model. It provides basic security model. When the process is running as a main program, it can be either in a privileged state or in the user state. But except handlers can only be in a privileged state. But if there is an handler, except handler, then at that time it is in the privileged state. When the processor goes in the reset mode, at that time it is the thread mode with the privilege access right. Now operation modes, you can see that there are two modes. One is a thread mode and the second one is a handler mode. So in a privileged state, programs has access to all memory ranges. Privileged state के अंदर सारे memory के rights रहते हैं and can also support the can also use all the supported instructions. So in a handler mode, when running exception handler, it will go as a handler mode. And when not running the exception handler, means what, it is running the main program, it will go into the thread mode. Software in privilege access level can switch the program into user access level using control register. So if you want to move from the privilege access level to the user access level, then you can use control register. Through control register, you can switch from the privilege access level to the user access level. When the exception takes place, the processor will always switch back to privileged state. Obviously, as soon as the exception takes place, it will go back to the privileged state and return to the previous state when exciting the exception handler. So when there is a switching between the user handler and the privilege handler, means privilege level and the user level, there is a switching. So when as soon as the exception takes place, the processor can switch to privileged state or to the user state. A user program cannot change the privilege level by writing to the control register. So user program does not have that right to change into privilege level because it is at the user level only. So by writing to the control register, it cannot change. It has to go through an exception handler that program the control register to switch the processor back into the privilege access when running into the thread mode. So it has to go through an exception handler. So when as soon as it goes through the exception handler, it will handle the control register and then it can switch from the privilege to the thread mode. So privilege level 2 access to running to the thread mode access. So this is the 2 mode and 2 privilege levels. So you can see that there is a privileged thread, privileged handler and user thread. So by default, it will be privileged thread. So as soon as the exception occurs, it will go from privileged threads to the privileged handler. And when exception exit, it will come back from privileged handler to the privileged thread. Similarly, from user handler, as soon as the exception occurs, it will move from user thread to privileged thread. And as soon as the exception exit, it will come back from privileged handler to user thread. And privileged thread to user thread, it can move by program of control register. So this is whole the state diagram of the operation modes in Cortex M3. Excuse me. Okay, now we'll move towards the NVIC. Now what this NVIC means, it's a nested vector interrupt controller. Cortex M3 processor has this interrupt controller, and this is called as NVIC. It has following features. First one, nested interrupt support. All external interrupts and most of the system exceptions can be programmed to a different priority level. When interrupt occurs, the NVIC compares the priority of this interrupt to the current running priority level. सीधी सी बात है, NVIC एक nested vector interrupt controller है और ये कंट्रोलर को जैसे ही एक्सेप्शन दिया जाता है, वो एक्सेप्शंस की वो प्रायोरिटी लेवल देखता है. जैसे ही वो प्रायोरिटी लेवल देखता है कि इसकी प्रायोरिटी इससे ज्यादा है, तो उस हिसाब के प्रायोरिटी लेवल को वो इंटरप्ट करता है. दैट इज द सी व्हेन एन इंटरप्ट अकर्स, द एनवीआईसी कंपेयर्स द प्रायोरिटी ऑफ दिस इंटरप्ट. ठीक है, जैसे इंटरप्ट दिया जाता है, एनवीआईसी कंपेयर करता है इस प्रायोरिटी को, इंटरप्ट को, टू करंट. वो किसे कंपेयर करेगा? जो आने वाला इंटरप्ट है उसको करंट रनिंग इंटरप्ट से चेक करेगा, वो देखेगा कि कौन सी प्रायोरिटी ज्यादा है। अगर आने वाले इंटरप्ट को ज्यादा है, ये जो चल रहा है उसको उसकी इसकी प्रायोरिटी ज्यादा है, अकॉर्डिंग टू विच इट विल डिसाइड वेदर विच इंटरप्ट टू बी हैंडल्ड फर्स्ट। This interrupt handler of a new interrupt will override the current running task if the priority, because देखो जो नया इंटरप्ट आ रहा है उसकी प्रायोरिटी जो रनिंग वाले से ज्यादा रहेगी, इसीलिए वो उसको रिप्लेस कर देगा। Then second one is a vectored interrupt support. When the interrupt is accepted, the starting address of the interrupt service routine is located from the vector table in the memory. There is no need to use software to determine and branch the starting address of the ISR, that is interrupt service routine. Thus, it takes less time to process the interrupt. Because of the ISR, it can take the less time to process the interrupt. Then fourth one is dynamic priority changes support. The priority level of the interrupt can be changed by the software during runtime. हाँ, एक और चीज है इसमें, जो डायनेमिक प्रायोरिटी चेंज सपोर्ट दिया है उसमें उन्होंने ऐसा ऐसा किया है कि प्रायोरिटी लेवल्स भी वो देख चेंज कर सकता है, कि सपोज अगर मुझे लगा कि ये प्रोग्राम का प्रायोरिटी लेवल ये है, तो इट कैन चेंज इट बाय यूजिंग सॉफ्टवेयर ड्यूरिंग रन टाइम, कि भाई इसको प्रायोरिटी लेवल ज्यादा नहीं देनी है, उसको देनी है, वो इंटरप्ट को देनी है। सो प्रायोरिटी लेवल ऑफ द इंटरप्ट कैन ऑल्सो बी चेंज। The interrupt that are being services are blocked from further activation until the ISR is completed, so their priority can be changed without risk. So अगर किसी भी प्रायोरिटी को चेंज करना है तो इंटरप्ट दैट आर बीइंग सर्विस आर ब्लॉक, जो अभी चल रहा है उसको ब्लॉक किया जाएगा फ्रॉम फर्दर एक्टिवेशंस अंटिल द ISR इज कंप्लीटेड। सो नया वाला इंटरप्ट को प्रायोरिटी के हिसाब से उसको काम किया दिया जाएगा और उसकी प्रायोरिटी कैन बी चेंज विदाउट रिस्क। Then reduction of the interrupt latency. This includes automatic storing and restoring some register contents, reducing delay in switching from an ISR to another and handling late interval interrupts. So automatic storing and restoring of some register content is possible with the help of reduction of interrupt latency. Now see what is latency and what is interrupt latency. Latency matlab ki what is the response of the from the software and the user, the response time between this. So if the latency is more, that means the response time is more, it is not good enough. The response time has to be very less, very high, so that the immediate action will be taken. So interrupt latency is in that way, where the interrupt that is given by the user and the reaction or the response of the software immediately to that interrupt is called as interrupt latency. Interrupt masking. Interrupt and system exceptions can be masked based on their priority levels or masked completely using interrupt masking registers like base primary mask and fault mask, which we have already seen. They can be used to ensure that the time critical task can be finished on time without being interrupted. So these are the points. Once again, we'll see what we have seen. We have seen the interrupts and exceptions. So interrupts and exceptions. Then we have seen these exception numbers. So these are the exception types. Then vector table definitions. Then we have seen the sleep mode low power feature. So we have seen that there are two instructions through which the sleep mode can be activated, WFI and WFE. That is a wait for interrupts and wait for event. Then there are three mode. One is a power mode, that is run mode, sleep mode, and deep sleep mode. Run mode, it is fully powered. Sleep mode, the CPU clock is halted, whereas the others are operational. Whereas in deep sleep mode, not only CPU clock, but system clock, flash, and PLL all are halted. Then the block diagram of Cortex M3. Then we have seen these features of the Cortex M3. Then the operation mode. So there are normally two operation modes are there, thread and handler mode. Two privilege levels are there. One is the privilege level and the second one is the user level. So thread mode is called as the normal program running mode, and the handler mode is nothing but running exception handler like interrupt handler or the system exception. Then we have also seen the how the shifting can take place between the privilege access level to the user access level using the control register. So you can see this two mode and two privilege level, how these are working within themselves. Then we have seen the built-in NVIC. It's a nested vector interrupt controller. It has following features like nested interrupt support, vector interrupt support, dynamic priority chain support, reduction of interrupt latency, and interrupt masking. So these are the things we have seen.